You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Hello and welcome to a very, very special broadcast. Oftentimes, right through my broadcast career as a sports enthusiast, as a news journalist, I have wondered, whenever we talk cricket, can I pick up the phone and call up Dada? And then I realized that he doesn't sit down and chat with you often. But then when I have this black book, which is a manuscript which I have read and it's been signed by him, well, I have to say a century is not enough. Dada, congratulations on the book, first up.
Thank you.
And I have to say a century is not enough because this is not an autobiography and this is not even a highlights package. It's like that montage which is cut at the end of the day's play, that it makes you want to watch more. So this book is something like that. But how did you think about the title?
You know, see, this is not an autobiography. You know, when you play for such a long period of time, you learn a lot of things out of the sport. And from outside a viewer who watches the Indian players play, you know, it's a different thing, package which comes outside to the people. But what is behind, whether you're doing well or whether you're not doing well, that is completely different. And it is reflected in this book. You know, it's like you doing a 9 o'clock bulletin for Times Now. You know, and you see the energy, you see the fire, you see what you want to bring to the viewers, but the back end work is completely different. And I think this is what it's all about.
Somewhere, okay, I'm just going to pick the essence of the book. Made me say that this was about what happened between the years.
Yeah, it's all about it at that level. You know, everybody comes with talent. When 2 players, 3 players, or 10 players get to that stage, the talent is a little bit this way, that way. But what it separates the successful one from the one who just probably fades away a little early is how he handles situations. Because even when you do well, there's pressure, because there's the pressure of doing well again. When you don't do well, there is pressure. There is a requirement of you to come out of it and perform. Otherwise, you won't get picked. When you do well, there's the requirement of you to do well and win. So it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, and the emotions just keep changing. And I think that's what's reflected in the book.
Yeah, one of the things which I'm looking for in the sequel is what you felt when you were playing your first ball in international cricket. So why don't you tell me that right now, that I'll read it in your next book.
Narasimhan, I believe in destiny. You know, there's a man at the top who's written something for you. And the more I see it in life, more I've got older and seen a lot more situations in life, I feel that is there. I keep telling everyone that was my first test, and I'm one of those fortunate enoughs in Indian cricket who's gone on to play 100 test matches and 300 one-day games. There are only 2 others, which is Sachin and Rahul. So I feel I'm extremely fortunate coming from Bengal. So the mindset which I had in my first test, I never had it in the next 112. I was always itchy in the next one, you know, not very happy with a few things. But that day at Lord's, maybe I was destined to get 100. Even while defending a ball, I felt so good. You know, every run I batted for 6.5 hours to get my first test 100. And it was different. You know, certain days, I've watched Tendulkar play, I've watched Dravid play, I've watched Lakshman play, I've watched Virat Kohli play. When you see a day, you feel, God, what's happened to him? You know, everything is right. You know, hits to the onside, hits to the offside, everything hits the middle of the bat, and things just fall into the system. And it happened to me, my first test, which actually gave a belief to everyone in the dressing room. And I could see it. Before the first day of the first test at Lord's, it was a different Ganguly in the dressing room. And after the third day at Lord's, it was a different Ganguly in the dressing room. And I could see that because people started thinking, you know, he can be a part of us and he can actually deliver for us, which is important.
In fact, when I thought, I said to Helen back, you would have said, yeah, that's what happened with Greg Chappell and as coach of the team when you wrote about it. But tell me this, what is the difference between Greg Chappell as coach talking to a newcomer and you as a captain helping a newcomer? I know you've talked about it in the book.
Greg Chappell helping a newcomer. And
Okay, Greg Chappell with the newcomer.
with a newcomer.
Okay.
I thought, I had two phases with him. One when I went to him in Australia because we wanted to play well in 2003.
Those 7 days, yeah.
7 days, and as an individual coach, I found him exceptional as a batting coach. And I think it says that you need to stay with someone to know how someone is. You don't get to know if you don't stay. And then when he came back as coach, we started spending a lot more time together because he was a part of the team. And then you saw the entire side of him, which was a little difficult, and which I thought was not expected from somebody who's played the game. You expect from people who've never played the game, who's been through the emotions of up and down, failures and successes, but who's done that. It actually took me by surprise.
Did you, okay, two questions. I'll come back to the other question. I didn't think you understood what I wanted to say because you've talked about it in the book. But did you not ever want to sit down with Greg in a room and say, let's just thrash it out? Tell me, what's your problem, buddy? What's your problem? We had, you were so good when I came to you to learn. And now we're working together as captain and coach. What's your problem?
I never got that opportunity. Everything happened so quick. Everything happened so quick. He came in as a coach. I was just captain for 2 series. Gone. Dropped. Didn't get to see him. Came back. Was trying to find my place in the team. So was more worried about getting my runs rather than sitting with him and saying that what's the problem, because I wouldn't have been captain anymore. So get the runs, get my place back, get that faith back, because at the end of the day, if you score runs, no one can stop you.
Or did you say that something?
Then by the time it finished, he was gone. And I think very correctly what you're asking, that some things should be let as bygones.
Left unsaid. Now coming back to the other question, because you said that you need to have instilled belief in a youngster. You need to tell the youngster, your job is not on the line. Your spot is not on the line. You have to give them the confidence that you're going to play. And somehow I felt that you contrasted that with Chappell, where even the best of the players were itchy because they didn't know where they're going to get selected in the next.
Someone like me who got 10,500 one-day runs in that period, when we went to the West Indies for the 2007 World Cup, I did not know before the selection that whether I would be in or out. And it was the same thing with a lot of people, except probably the captain and Sachin, because he was Sachin. He never knew whether he would get picked. Even someone like Sehwag, you can't. Yes, you want to put players under pressure. You want to put. It's like your job. Yes, the top management puts pressure on you to perform, but don't put the pressure so much that you crack. I think that's a fine balance. And that had to be done with every cricket playing individual. When I was captain, I had to do with it. I had to do with young players like Sehwag and Harbhajan. I could not make them play cricket with the gun on the neck, saying that nahi hua to ye chalega. I say you don't create players, and you believed in them. You said this is what I expect of you is to win matches, but the freedom will be there, and then you assess over a period of time. I think at times it didn't happen, and that's why we struggled in 2007. It's the same team in 2007. We came out of the World Cup. We got smashed and criticized,
and then we know what all happened.
And then 3 months down the line, we were beating South Africa in Ireland in pitches which just went all over the shop. When a month later, in England won the first Test series in 25 years, the same boys, same 6 boys, 7 boys, 8 boys, and Chandu Borde as coach, who was in his middle 70s. Middle 70s when you win the series in England after 25 years. So it actually proved to me that you need to give freedom to performers, because in any way there is pressure. Anyway, they know that if they don't perform, 15 other people are waiting. And once you go down the line, you again have to climb up the ladder, which is a Herculean task. So it's a fine balance.
Here's one of the things which I was expecting you to perhaps spend a little more, or maybe you've saved it for the sequel. I still believe century is not enough. But what did you tell the likes of MS? Because there's talk, I've heard this on the cricketing sidelines, that you told him after a particular innings, don't worry about your spot. You're going to be there.
I did that to a lot of people. When Sehwag opened, he said, I've never opened for Delhi. I said, don't worry, if you don't get runs, you will come back and play in the middle. With him, I felt that he was so good that we had a middle order of Dravid, Tendulkar, Ganguly, Lakshman, and he wasn't getting a game. to see in that era, all three of them, and then Sehwag joined in later to play 100 test matches, just went on to show that, how long they played and how long they occupied those slots. So for someone like Sehwag, you had to say, okay, try this. When I was in an era of Hayden and Langer, where both of them came from the middle order and became openers. And then you got Sehwag. I keep telling that Maverick, I call him Mad Max, and that he wouldn't have been half the player if he hadn't opened. He doesn't agree. He says, no, I'm still good at middle order. And I said, no, you wouldn't have been half the player. He said the only advantage or the disadvantage of opening was I lost all my hair in 1 year's time. But Sehwag wouldn't have been half the player if he batted down the order.
What was the difference between Sehwag and you in terms of how you interpreted it, the battle of the mind?
Talent. I thought he was exceptionally talented. To do that was remarkable from middle order. And actually, I went through a period in Pakistan in 2006 when I came back, and I was asked to open for the Lahore Test match. Sehwag was my inspiration. I'd opened in one-day cricket. Hadn't opened in Test matches. So when they asked me to open, I said, if Sehwag can do it, I can do it as well. And he was actually an inspiration for me. But obviously, I did not open that Test match and batted lower down the order. And I think he was very strong up here.
Yeah.
He was bullish. Even when he makes statements now, I open the newspaper and say, oh, what's he saying again? So it's like that, and I think that helped his cricket.
That helped his cricket. I want to ask you, did you at some point, because there were people who thought you were Mr. Snooty, they thought you were arrogant.
Never.
But did you feel that people actually, because they said Andrew Flintoff and the others, did not like you during a stint at Lancashire. They thought that, you've got a chip on your shoulder, I don't know why, or some stuff.
No, I think everything fell to, I was captain of India. English county cricket is different. After the game finishes, it's a long game. 105 overs means you get to the ground at 9 in the morning and you leave at about 8 o'clock in the evening, and you have to come back another day because you played 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And it was just me and my wife in Manchester, so I had to go back to my house. We lived in a house there. That's what county cricket does, and get ready for the next morning. But English cricket was different, once they finished the day's play, they would sit in the bar, have beer, and I'm a complete teetotaler. So I never did that. I never enjoyed it. I wanted to go back, rest, and get ready. I was a very closed person, being the way brought up.
You being an introvert, you being wanting to somebody whose mechanism was more about sit inside the room and work with
and my life, that was my lifestyle.
Was that
Yes,
misinterpreted?
absolutely. I think that was my lifestyle, and my colleagues will understand because they saw me doing that for 15 years for India. Finish the game, come back in your room, order your dinner, sit and watch TV, get a bit of massage, maybe one of the boys come in, spend half an hour with them, chat, have fun, and then go to sleep. I don't party. I don't go to nightclubs. I never did when I was playing. I never do it now. I find it
So how did you handle the boys
waste
who
of
did?
time.
How did you handle the boys?
Go and do it. That's your life. If you enjoy it, go and do it. I'm your captain when you play. And a little bit off the field to get you ready. Rest is your time. It's not a principal sitting here. So, and I didn't enjoy it. I never liked the loudness of the music. I'm a teetotaler, so I did not know what I was doing. So I enjoyed better sitting in the room, get my friends in, order food and watch TV, chat, and then I found it a lot more relaxing because that's the way I was brought up in a very middle-class Bengali family, and that remained with me.
You also talked about your two people you also named right now, Sachin and Dravid, saying that I'm there in that league. It's the three of you, Sachin, Sourav and Rahul.
They're better players though.
Yeah, not just that. I'm in terms of your equations in the book, how Sachin was always there around the system. Even when you're down and out, he just gave you your support. You knew that you had a friend in him, and he also helped you out. Somewhere you hinted at that. And then somewhere I saw an equation with Rahul. Did it hit a trough, or was it the same, irrespective of him as captain under Chappell?
I think as a captain,
and what happened?
As a captain, he had to take decisions, and that happens with all captains. When you're not being a part of that squad, you feel, oh, what's happening? But that never spoiled my relationship with him, because I came back. I came back and played for a long period of time, played well. Surprised that he left captaincy after that win in England. So it never affected, because I knew where it was coming from. And I met him.
You talk about that triangle which happened in the middle of the park.
Yeah, I
which
read that in
World
the
War-
book.
Yeah.
It was completely misinterpreted. And Rahul, when if at all he gets chance to read this book, he'll understand what I'm saying, because he was a part of the discussion, saying that as I said, I was about to open in Lahore.
Yeah.
And then he said, no, you should bat in the middle order because you're coming back. Now, that's how Rahul Dravid is. He tries to make sure that everything is proper and perfect and nobody is hurt. And that was the entire discussion.
He didn't want to put you under the bus.
He said, no, you never opened. You're coming back. You don't open in a test match. Although the night before it was decided that I would open, and I happily agreed, because I thought it's an opportunity for me. So that if I score runs as an opener, I don't have to worry about middle order. Play for the next whatever time I want to play as an opener and see if I can succeed. So he said, no, you must bat at 5. And that's your place, and that's where you want to do.
So he told you why he took that decision which he did in Pakistan?
He did. He said that. He said, I don't want you to feel that, you came back.
Not with you. That you talked about. The other one you didn't talk about.
Which one?
The declaration at 194.
We'll talk about that later.
Because he's done the same thing in the book. He just talks about it, mentions it, and he says, this is what Rahul says every time I ask him about it, and you left it there.
We will sit and talk about it when we have a good cup of tea.
We have a good cup of tea, all right. So maybe I'll get to know. I don't know if Dada shares that with me, or maybe we'll have to ask Jamie about that. But you also said that there was a huge weight lifted off him moment Chappell exited.
Yeah, I saw a difference in him, because a lot of us have played so much together, and he saw the environment change, because he's such a great player and such a lovely person. You know what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening, and we saw a new team. And I think Mr. Bode was phenomenal as a coach. I remember those team meetings where team meetings used to finish with the clapping of hands. He was not the quickest, not the youngest. And his one-liners were hilarious in the team meetings, and I thought he did a great job at that age.
Yeah, because
74, 75 in England in that cold.
True.
He did a great job.
Now I have limited time with you, so I'm going to fast forward and come closer to the IPL and beyond, Dada. Somewhere, as you talked about your equation with KKR, with Pune, with Shahrukh, what stood out for me is something within this format and the equations between player and franchise and how it works, the dynamics, rankles for you. Are you believe something's off here, the way IPL's functioning?
I think they're a lot more patient now. They're a lot more patient now. And I think my first 3 years of KKR, we didn't do well. So it was necessary to change the team around. Maybe I could have continued as a player, because I got a lot of runs for them that last year. And so I was a bit surprised that when I was asked that whether I would actually look at the coaching aspect of the side. But then I refused because as a player you can play that long. I thought I will play for another couple of years, and then the coaching thing can come whenever, because for that you don't need to be fit and be the best. Sport finishes after a while. So I felt they were completely fair in changing the team around. So I was a little surprised of not being a part of it, because KKR was very close to me. Kolkata, Eden Gardens. It was electric every time we played, and it was very close to my heart. So to go and play for some other team was a little difficult, but then that's what it was.
And you made your peace with Shahrukh after that?
Oh yeah. There was never a problem with him. Obviously when
because you talk about the time when you guys helped each other out.
When we were together, when these things happen, there's always a bit of hitch. I remember getting an 80 against Deccan Chargers, and I was really pumped up because I was getting criticized. These are emotions of players. You see Virat Kohli. I was watching an IPL 100. He kept hitting at his. If you see, he kept hitting at his thumb. And then I realized, if I wouldn't known, I would say, who's he trying to show? He had a stitch in his thumb. And he went on and batted and got 100. So he was trying to show that, I have overcome this pain. So that was also a way of saying that, I've got runs. So that gets misconstrued. That gets misconstrued. And because actually somebody who's looking from far don't know exactly what is going inside. So that was the situation which took me by
and
by
we
surprise.
all infer. We don't try and ask the person.
Not always, because you don't get access all the time. You don't get access all the time, so it's difficult to even be right all the time. And we live with that. We understand, we live with that, and realize that the truth maybe 7 days later will ultimately be there. Ultimately, that happens also with media and television. You get to know, and then you settle down.
Okay, final 2-3 questions, and looking into the future. You think Indian cricket is in good hands? Because you've rated Virat Kohli very highly, among the top, and on the field and off it.
Very good hands on the field. Off the field, it's a bit turbulent because of all these Supreme Court orders. But I keep saying, and don't think because I'm an administrator now and I'm the president of CAB, there are a lot of good things which is done to Indian cricket. Otherwise, this cricket would not have been in this situation. I've seen administrators in the past, and I was very close to Mr. Dalmia, and I've dedicated a book to him. So very close to him. I've seen.
He's like a father figure.
Yeah, I've seen, and even before I picked up the bat, because my father was the vice president and when he was the president of CAB. So they worked together, and I've grown up with them. So I've seen what they do to make the game popular. There's so much passion in all of them. You spoke about Anurag before we started. You could see the passion in him. Because he was a player, he did not make it to the international level. He wanted to give it back in terms of an administrator. So there's a lot of good things. Yes, there are a few wrong things also, but that's in everything. Everything. Nobody is perfect. You make mistakes, you do the right things, but as long as the good things are better than the wrong things, that's fine. So I think it's been a bit tough time for them, and I'm sure they'll recover. But the good thing is that the cricket on the field is safe, and I think that man Virat Kohli is very, very special. That freedom has to be given for the best to perform, and you actually get the best out of someone when you give him that freedom. Best line on my life, I read a couple of years ago, Steve Jobs' line. He said, when you hire a professional, you actually want him to tell you what to do, not the other way around. And I found that line super. It was a superb line. Otherwise, what's the point?
This is through the covers, into the boundary. I hope people get the message. But the other last question I had to resist. From cricket, captain, fantastic batsman, all-rounder, everything achieved on the field. Now you're doing great work off it. As administrator, you've been appointed by the courts. Are you setting is this net practice happening for a greater innings?
I don't know. You never know.
Politics?
No politics. I've said that before also.
But within the BCCI?
You never know. You never know what happens with the BCCI, where it goes. And, I have been appointed president of CAB from nowhere. The first question which I ask myself is that, once I get into it, can I do that for the rest of my life? And every time I get that answer is not yet. Not yet. And every time when I sit on my own and I speak to myself, I said, what do you want to do? I get the answer, cricket.
Cricket.
Two things. You never know what's in store. The best things are in store. If you have the heart to follow that path. And secondly, it's never over till you actually think it's over.
Great. Fantastic message there, and it's not over yet. Like I said, a century is not enough. Dada, wonderful talking to you. Thank you.
Lovely,
Thank you so much.
lovely.
Thanks a lot.
The News Hour at 10 will be